Hi folks, welcome back. I can't see you right now. I hope you're doing well. It's an unusual start to the day. I wasn't actually scheduled to be out today. Weather forecast yesterday said at the very least we had mist for about 4 hours. As beautiful as this morning light is, I'm just savouring it right now, to be perfectly honest. It's fantastic. And on top of that, I can't feel my fingertips. They've completely gone numb. Coldest morning of the year so far, I think. We've had a ground frost earlier this year. It seemed heavier than this, but I think in fact this is more like a sharp freeze. It feels very cold this morning. Forgive me for looking past you, but I'm just seeing some beautiful silhouettes coming up in the sun in areas like this. Where you can block the sun out, you just get these beautiful pockets of atmospheric haze. So, what's today about? It's really about two things. One is obviously to try and pick up some opportunities from the weather conditions. So the other thing it's about is whenever we get into the they've been going nuts this morning. I couldn't record earlier. I've had to wait 10 minutes just to do this because they were going bananas. I don't know why. Wanting me to clear off probably. Thank you, fellas. When foggy conditions present themselves, or we've got the chance of foggy conditions arising, plan where you're going to go for your next fog. When I came in here last time, there was fog a week ago. Was it a week ago? It seems like longer. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Literally the day after, I was starting the process of planning where I was going to go for the next fog event. For me, it's necessary because there's nothing worse than getting a last minute weather forecast for fog, not knowing where you're going to go and having to prepare all your gear. It becomes like everything all at once and it becomes a rush and it's not good. As this light comes up behind me, it's entering the wood. This is a row of silver birch that join on to the main body of the nature reserve. This goes on for quite a way and you can see the light just finding its way in places. It's still quite low, it's still quite soon after dawn. And as I just take a gentle stroll through, I'm just keeping my eyes peeled for mostly just silhouettes, just outlines of objects, patterns, repeating patterns, any indications of any pockets of fog anywhere. As with all light, as with all natural sunlight, it gets very bright very fast. And with tree subjects, because they're so detailed, one bright spot can ruin the entire thing. It doesn't make for a whole lot of time here. So my window is already very narrow, but it doesn't have to just be about trees for me. I don't mind shooting slightly wider, ignoring the detail and looking for things at the mid-ground rather than in the foreground. It's a way to keep shooting when the light comes up. That's what it is. It's a way to find things of interest and particular beauty. Just like this chap here, I just took a shot of him. Now, the shadow there on the tree was actually across here. It was right in the face of the tree. I won't tip the GoPro on its side, but you can just see there the shadow of the foreground tree on the trunk of the bigger tree with the morning light and a nice bow of light around the top of the frame. It's lovely, it's lovely. I like the squiggle on his trunk there. Beautiful. A little branch comes off and I've got this kink in the shadow. It's just a bit different. And honestly, I feel like shooting a bit different right now. I need to mix it up. I need to explore new compositions. I want to challenge myself. I'm in that kind of a frame of mind, so don't be surprised if I find some funky stuff today. Enough waffle. I'm going to just have a wiggle around here, take a steady mosey on down, wait for the sun to come up, get myself into the trees and then see what we find. See what we find. It's going really slow today. I'm going really slow today. And it feels quite appropriate. The lights lift in. All the mist is visible in the sun. Let me show you. So we have these shadows here, the mist soft in the background, bright sun here. As the light creeps in, it's really bright. I mean, it's really bright. So for me, I think for everybody, we struggle to find in woodland environments particularly a balance of light. So either there's a highlight that's too bright, the shadows are too dark, it just doesn't make for a comfortable image, or it's all too flat. Like if there's not sufficient light, it sounds like we're being picky, doesn't it? Just want balanced light. Or there are other things that we can look for. And for me, I tend to edge towards atmosphere and silhouette. So I ignore the brightness and I ignore the shadows and I just go with the flow. And an example of that is in this composition. What I see in it is the bottom left-hand quarter of the frame there, where we've got the sun off frame, just off the edge of the frame here by a centimetre. And as the sun's coming in, we've got this beautiful bank of relatively young silver birch, dabs of autumn copper there on the floor with a fern, and then this beautiful bank of mist, and it's just creeping its way through. Now I'm not interested in the top of this frame. It doesn't do anything for me, the top third. So if I take that out, I start to get a more interesting composition. I'll probably drop a little off the right hand edge and take the top third away from this image and see what we come up with. Incredibly beautiful, but I just want that bit. Mate, they are on it today. Absolutely crazy they are. I don't know why. Never heard anything like it. It's a racket. So when the light gets too much and it interferes with you shooting primary subjects, my advice is forget primary subjects. Forget it. Just forget it. Shoot the environment. Find the beauty in the atmosphere, in the ambience. That's probably the best word for it, I suppose. Might not be. So, I mean, it just feels like a really slow morning. It's not. I can't rush. I just can't. I can't put one foot in front of the other. I haven't got it. I just haven't got it. Why would you? I mean, it's this beauty. It's probably just because it's so beautiful. Anyway, I am going to move now. I've took a couple of little shots. There's nothing great in here. This part of the woodland is it's predominantly silver birch with the odd dotted ancient. So it looks, I don't like to use the word samey, but there isn't a lot of diversity. You really have to work on intimate subjects, intimate frames to really pick things out. Or drop down this little hillside, put your face in the sun, and try and pick out something like that. Right, no more waffle. I'll see you in a bit. Anybody owns a GoPro, you'll know what I mean when I say it's just done that thing where the screen goes black and you can't switch it off. It's like you don't know whether you're recording or not, and usually you're not. It's usually corrupted the file. Anyway, I'll start again, just in case. So, interesting composition. I'm surrounded by fallen old limbs, and these come together here. There's one on my left, one on my right. They come together here. That's an old branch leading off out that direction, and it all came back way down there. So this section here, the flat of it, and the arc, and that huge sweeping branch would have been a limb. Very unusually, looks as though it came out of here. Look at that. I'll spin you upside down. See if there's any light up there. I don't know if there is. So, beautiful, beautiful ancient oak. dead as a door knocker. But how on earth is that separated like that? Can you imagine the force that must have been involved? It must have been incredible the day that came down. I've heard pines lose limbs about, I don't know, a quarter of that, and it sounds unearthly. So that must have echoed around this place like, I've got no idea. What can we do with this then? And what I decided is I would sit the tripod almost smack bang over the centre of the log, facing the, I don't know what you'd call that, the opening. And I'm going to try and use the curvature of the limb as a leading line up there. So if I can, start the image, bottom left hand corner, sweeping around off up and into the tree. But I'd like to get a little bit of that as well. And it's beyond what I can get in a single frame. So I've managed to get the leading line sweeping around, and I managed to get the start of the opening. And then what I did is I adjusted my camera up, so twisted it back. I'll adjust the frame now, something like that. So I had the bottom section about there, and then the top section overlapping there. And hopefully, beautiful sweeping line off up into there, orifice, and there's some nice colour over here. I wanted to get that in. I'd like to try and form a composition around it, so we'll see. I'll pop that up in a gallery as usual at the end. I shot that at f4.5, 0.3 of a stop over. I think I was actually at exposure. For some stupid reason, here's a lesson for the day. I'm going to admit it. I'm going to admit my mistake. So far, all morning, every shot I've taken has been shot at ISO 800. 800. It's not a huge problem, but it's not ideal. Especially when I was shooting those sunny shots where I could have done with the clarity. It happens. Very rare I do it nowadays. I'm really quite meticulous about my camera settings. But the point is, I suppose, don't beat yourself up. It's going to happen. You're going to have days where you forget things, and boy do I have mine. This one's an unusual one. So I'm going to take time to just correct my ISO. Having realised my error, I'm going to shoot this again now. I'll probably shoot it maybe f11 as a starting point. I'll shoot at f11 to try and get some of that colour in the background up there, because that really is very pretty. And I might even edge the frame over slightly if I can. I still like this sweep starting in the bottom left hand corner, so I might have to actually move myself across that way slightly so that I can form that composition a little better. I'll move my tripod, adjusted my ISO. The sun is creeping out up in the clouds, but it's cloud, it's not fog. We haven't got fog today. We had a little bit of light mist, and it was beautiful while it lasted, but it was challenging. Yeah, challenging. I get a good idea, I get a good sense of how this place would respond in fog. I'd know better what to expect coming back here in the future. Oh, what a day, what a day. It's very slow, very chilled. Sweet, no more waffle. Get this reshot, and I'll bring you back for another one in a minute. Right, I think this is me, folks. I've got one last composition. I've been way up in there, in this woodland over here. I've wandered out onto the main trail. That's the way I came in, way back down that way. Sun still up over here somewhere, and you can see things have gone very flat, very grey. We've lost light, and we've lost the opportunity to shoot much. A bit of a flat day, really. It's not really brought what I hoped it would, but in any case, it is what it is, and I've tried to make the most of it. ISO 800. Right, this composition. I thought I'd try and get a wide shot for you because I haven't got anything else worth a whistle, and in these light conditions, often one side of a wide shot versus the other side. One can be dark, one can be light. It usually is, because obviously the sun's only coming from one direction. And in actual fact, the sun's coming up over here, but the light is on my right. It's the opposite side, because there's a gap behind me and the light's coming in. It's hitting one subject, and then up in that direction it gets darker as it gets into the forest with a little bit of mist and things just dumbing down. So it's counterintuitive light, but I like that stuff. I like playing around with it. Here's my subject. This dude. How cool's he? Oh, I'm going to go for take 3. Oh, the light doesn't know what it's doing. Just met a fellow photographer. Had a good chat about the challenge. The challenge is real. Nice to meet you, my friend, if you visit. Hopefully we'll meet again one day. Yeah, coming to the close of this video, and I've had a problem with the GoPro twice. And I just want to get this last composition in, so I'm just going to whistle through it. This is my subject, this fella here, with this little silver birch on the right hand side. What I wanted to do is I just wanted to share a bit of a panorama, and a lady's just passed me in the brightest green coat you've ever seen, bless her. By the time I get there, hopefully she'll have disappeared behind a tree. But point of me just sharing this one, really, apart from me being able to put a larger landscape image on screen, is I just wanted to cover, for anybody who's not used to shooting multi-shot panoramas or multi-shot images, how exposing across a frame matters. So because this is my primary subject, it would be very easy for me to expose for this fella, and if I was to shoot this something like so, at exposure, take my shot. Now if I start expose for this and then start taking my panorama and move my shots across, that would be my second roughly, that would be my third. I'm now down 0.3 of a stop. I just touched a minus 0.7 of a stop. There's almost a whole stop of light difference between my primary subject and sweeping across the frame. So it's just something to bear in mind. Remembering that I forgot to alter my ISO this morning. I'm in no position to remind people to remember things. Okay folks, I'm going to have to wrap up now. I've had, well, 3 fails on the GoPro now, 2 batteries, and the GoPro keeps stalling, so it's probably the cold. I'm still struggling to feel my fingers, so I know it is cold, but it doesn't normally perform this poorly, so I've got multiple interrupted clips. I don't know what's recorded, what hasn't, what I've got, what I haven't, and it's been pretty flat anyway. So I'm sharing the reality of it. It is what it is, and hopefully I've got enough to put a half decent video together for you. I'll compose whatever images I found from today, pop them up in the gallery as usual, and leave that with you now. All right then folks, I want to thank you very much for watching, and ask you to please take care of one another, and as ever, if you can't be good, just be careful, and I'll see you very soon. Take care, bye for now. Really beautiful. Got a huge guy over here. Ooh, easy. And I think morning, madam. Thank you. Excuse me. You don't want holly in the eye. Holly in the ivory.